Hello everyone, SG Dad here. Sorry for not uploading any videos over the past 2 weeks. Ever since our visa was approved, things have been quite busy for us, like visiting the embassy to apply for entry, to check out stores like Nitori, IKEA and Muji. Since we know that we can find the same items in Japan, we wanted to reduce the time needed for furniture shopping once we arrive. But today's video is not about shopping. It's actually a reflection on my journey after spending 16 years in the corporate world. I want to share a few key mindset shifts that have shaped where I am today, and it may also be relevant to you. Let's start with the first one. Grow within the system, but develop outside the system. I heard this quote from a Taiwanese host, and I tried to translate it as accurately as I could. It means that when you are in the system, that's where you pick up skills, you learn from it because it's structured and the risk is much lower. Although there's always a ceiling to how much you can learn within the system. It also reminded me that when you are in that system, you shouldn't stop growing as far as possible. Because I realized that a lot of people, maybe when they just started working in their early 20s, that's when they learn the most. The learning curve is steep and everything is new. But once we reach our 30s, late 30s, early 40s, we start to acquire quite a fair bit of experience, which can be both good and bad. And the good part is that now you know how to handle the tasks better, you can accomplish things more efficiently, and you understand your own capabilities. On the other hand, we may also become complacent with our skill sets, thinking that, hey, I know enough to survive in this system, and I don't really need to learn more, I know enough people. That's when people start to focus more on the corporate specific skills rather than real transferable skills just to climb the ladder. But if you really want to develop and flourish, I believe we should step outside the system because outside the sky is the limit. For example, I have a friend who was a teacher in a secondary school. Within the system, of course, she learned a lot. She developed skills in classroom management, in pedagogy, in counseling. But eventually she got burnt out and realized her passion was more in actual teaching than in admin side of things. So she quit and started giving tuition as a private tutor. At first, her income from private tuition couldn't match her full-time teaching salary, but she found it much more fulfilling and she didn't stop there. Once she built a sizable base of students, she started a tuition center, hired other teachers and focused on running the center. So that's a good example of developing outside the system, using the skills gained within the system. Anyway, do you all know that Muji sells over 50 different kinds of curry in this type of instant pouches? But I couldn't bring myself to try it because it kind of reminds me of combat ration in the army. Yeah, guys, braised duck rice. Now, the second mindset shift built on this quote, the system itself doesn't trap you, but it's the attachment to the system that does. This quote reminded me of an interesting concept I read from a book called Reality Transurfing. It talks about something called the pendulum effect. As we know, a pendulum is something that swings back and forth with a certain amount of energy. In this context, it's a metaphor for any collective mindset or belief system that gains energy from the people who buy into it, like a workplace culture, a religious group, a school system, a social trend, or a political movement. So when many people start thinking the same way, a pendulum is formed. The more emotional energy we give it through fear, frustration, ambition, the more powerful it becomes. So eventually it starts to govern how we live, how we think, and we may not even realize it. And I think that this is very applicable to corporate life. The longer you stay in a certain system, the easier it is to accept its rules. Even if those rules seem absurd when you first started out. Over time, you just adjust, you blend in, you stop asking why. And when you try to step back or you try to step away or do something different, that's when the pendulum pushes back and trying to bring you back in sync with other people. People around you will question your decisions like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you going against the flow? Why are you making things difficult for others? But that said, pendulums are not always a bad thing. Some serve a positive purpose like a healthy company culture, a supportive community, or meaningful religious group. The issue is when we follow them blindly, forgetting to ask whether they still align with who we are. That's why I chose to step up, not because I want to reject everything about corporate life, but because I want to move at my own pace, even if that pace is out of sync with the system. So I've mentioned before that my MBTI is INTJ. As an INTJ, it's very hard for us to blindly follow instructions or do things we find ridiculous. And when we are told to just follow the norms and not rock the boat, it becomes very torturous. So rather than just stepping away from existing pendulums, my hope is to start my own, one that will reflect my values and pace and the kind of life I want to build. And I'm looking forward to this new role as a self-employed person. We found this set of outdoor chairs. Seems like it's more for camping use, right? That looks quite nice and it will be suitable to put in our balcony. But somehow we cannot find the same set of tables and chairs in Japan Muji website. Hopefully we can find similar ones over there. And finally, the last mindset shift is based on this quote: the only real job security is the one you create. In recent months, we've seen that the job market is not great, retrenchments are happening, and I came across a YouTuber, maybe you have seen her too, sharing her story of being laid off from a tech company. I really like her mindset and how positively she handled it. So unlike past retrenchments caused by economic downturns or recessions, this wave is slightly different. In fact, it's very different. Many companies, especially in the tech company, they are doing well. Their earnings are strong, their share prices are good, but they are still retrenching people. And that is because of AI. They are using AI to reduce headcount and increase profit. And it's working for the companies. I have a friend who is a regulatory compliance officer in the building and construction industry. It is a highly niche field, and over the years he became an expert in audits, documentation, and regulatory standards. Recently, he thought of quitting and start something on his own because he felt that the career progression is pretty stagnant. But he also said that with the skill set that he learned throughout the years, those skills are only relevant in his industry and not really transferable. So it's either he starts something new and relearn everything, or stay in the industry and try to look for opportunities. So if we want job security, we need to create it ourselves by building skills that can still be relevant outside the system, like something that can be offered as a standalone service and not those skills that is embedded within the system. That's why I believe the most valuable skills are the ones you can use independently. Things like video editing, graphic design, data visualization, dashboarding skills, web development, or mastering AI tools, and also sales and marketing. And when we are in a company, we should try to privatize our skills and make them useful outside of the company setting. So I'm not sure how you feel about these 3 mindset shifts. Let me know in the comments if any of them resonate with you. Thank you for watching, and that's all I have to share for now. Hope to see you in the next video.